What's going on, guys? I'm Chris and welcome back to another video. Today I'm back with another 100 movies I missed update. Now, if you're new to the channel or if you're just watching a 100 movies video for the first time, what these are is essentially at the beginning of the year I had a New Year's goal that I was going to watch 100 movies that I had not seen for the first time, whether that's a classic movie, a movie that won Best Picture at the Oscars, a movie that I'd seen parts of on TV, or just a movie that I want to watch that I haven't seen. I am now 85 movies into this thing, so I've been doing them every 10. The first update was 25 movies, so I only have one more update after this. It's going to be when I'm done. It's going to be 86 through 100, I want to say, so 15 more movies. I'm really excited to finish this thing out. So the first movie that I watched for this update was The Green Mile, which came out in 1999, directed by Frank Darabont, who is known for directing The Shawshank Redemption, the #1 rated movie on IMDb. I really enjoyed this movie. I gave it 4.5 out of 5 on Letterboxd. Like, it was amazing to me. It was a 3-hour epic. I watched it on a Sunday. There was nothing really going on that day. I was just sitting around, so I was like, I might as well watch a 3-hour movie that's been on my watch list for quite some time that stars Tom Hanks, because you can't go wrong with Tom Hanks. The relationship between Tom Hanks' character and John Coffey was just very heartfelt, and most of this movie was pretty emotionally powerful. Like, I was moved almost to tears throughout various scenes. Like, this one will rip your heart out easily. There's characters you hate, there's characters you love. It's just really well crafted overall, and it's a classic movie that I'm happy to say I've finally seen. The next movie that I watched is The King of Comedy, which came out in 1982, directed by Martin Scorsese, who is a great director, one of the greatest of all time, no doubt. He's done The Departed, Wolf of Wall Street, Goodfellas, Taxi Driver. I really enjoy all those movies. This one was fine. It was decent to me. It's the first hour takes so long to get things moving, and I'm just like, all right, I'm kind of intrigued by this character of Rupert Pupkin, but like, what is the point of this movie? And then once it kind of gets to the point of the movie, at like the hour mark, it flipped on its head, and I really enjoyed that last half of the movie. It just was like, it felt like we were wasting time that whole first hour. I can't stand when movies do that. I can definitely see how Joker was kind of paying homage to King of Comedy. I've heard the comparisons to Taxi Driver, but now that I've seen King of Comedy, Joker definitely took influence from it. Not a ton, but a good amount of scenes, I would say, are influenced by King of Comedy. The next movie that I watched is The Notebook, which is a romantic classic for many. It came out in 2004, stars Ryan Gosling, who I love, and of course Rachel McAdams, and they really do a great job of creating a realistic, buyable romance throughout this movie, especially in that first hour when they're younger and they're really in love, and then there's kind of a dramatic breakup scene that most people know about, and then the second half of the movie is where I kind of take issue. It just got way too cheesy and drawn out, and I was like, I thought this movie was going to end 30 minutes sooner than it did. It just kept on going. And then, like, the last 10 minutes of the movie were just so cheesy to me. I know that a lot of people think it's really sweet and heartfelt, but it was just a little too cheesy and even predictable at times for me. One that I won't watch again, not even one of my favorite romantic movies, but I'm glad that I watched it nonetheless. The next movie that I watched is The Fugitive, which came out in 1993, stars Harrison Ford and Tommy Lee Jones, and this is a movie I had seen parts of on TV with my parents before. I just never really sat down and watched the entire thing from beginning to end, and I love this movie. It was amazing. It really locked me in from start to finish, and it honestly reminded me of why I love movies. It's just one of those classic movies. The 90s had a lot of them that are just great thrillers that enthrall you. Tommy Lee Jones won the Oscar for Best Supporting Actor. I think he's really great in the movie. I know 93 was a tough year, though. It had Ralph Fiennes from Schindler's List. It had Leo from What's Eating Gilbert Grape, so that was a really tough year. I don't know if I would have given it to Tommy Lee Jones, but I love the quote when Harrison Ford's like, "I didn't kill my wife," and he says, "I don't care." Like, that was just a funny moment. I think that's probably the most iconic quote from this movie. It's a classic, and I'm so happy that I've finally seen it. It's one of my favorite 90s thrillers. Continuing the Harrison Ford trend, the next movie that I watched is Witness, which came out in 1985, directed by Peter Weir, who did movies like The Truman Show, and I really enjoyed this one as well. The first 20 minutes, I was very confused, and not like with what was going on, but I was like, man, I thought this was going to be something completely different. And then an act happens that really lets all the dominoes fall, and the movie kind of gets rolling, and that's when I was like, okay, I see what's going on now. It really blended the romantic side of the movie with this police drama mystery. Harrison Ford got nominated for an Oscar. I think this might be his best work, honestly. There's a few scenes where he just is such a good yell actor, if that makes sense. Like, he reminds me of Adam Driver, how they can yell but really bring out emotions, and I think Harrison Ford kills it in this role. Kelly McGillis is really good as well. They have a viable romance, and even Lucas Haas, I want to say is his name. He's the kid in this movie. He's really great. I said this in my review on Letterboxd, but it's hard not to be engaged in a movie when someone who played two of my childhood heroes is on screen. Han Solo and Indiana Jones. I love Harrison Ford, and I want to watch all of his movies one day. he's just the man. The next movie that I watched is Seven Samurai, directed by Akira Kurosawa. Came out in 1954. I picked up the Criterion and I actually did a full video on this where I react to it my first time watching. So definitely check that out on the channel. I give my really in-depth thoughts there, so I'm not going to go too deep here. But I will say I think this is a perfect movie for what it is. It's inspired countless different stories, whether that's the Magnificent Seven remakes or even Star Wars TV episodes. There's literally endless possibilities with this story. It's timeless. There's grand epic action sequences that are so perfectly shot from the 50s. It honestly blows my mind. And the characters are so well written. All around, I think the movie is perfect. And I go in depth in that video. Definitely check it out. I'll put a card up here. Next, I watched Les Mis. I'm not going to try and pronounce the whole thing. It came out in 2012, starring Hugh Jackman, Russell Crowe, Anne Hathaway. And this movie is really, really good. Like, I had seen chunks of it, but I'd never sat down and watched it from beginning to end. I even saw, I think there's a 90s version with Jeffrey Rush and Liam Neeson. So I knew the story of Jean Valjean and Javert and all these different characters, but sitting down and watching this 2012 version really just sucked me in. I think Anne Hathaway is fantastic. I'm glad she won the Oscar, but honestly, Hugh Jackman stole the show for me as Jean Valjean. I really wish that he won the Oscar for Best Actor in a Leading Role. 2012 was a crazy year. I know it had Joaquin for The Master. It had Daniel Day-Lewis for Abraham Lincoln, Bradley Cooper for Silver Linings Playbook. So this year was loaded. I understand that he didn't win, but I wish that he did, honestly. He was so good. Rips your heart out in various scenes. This movie does, and Hugh Jackman's performance as well. I will say that towards the end, it was like taking its time to wrap up. It felt like Return of the King or Endgame in a sense, which I love both those endings. But this one, I don't think was warranted. It was just dragging on. There was like 2 songs too many, I would say, towards the end there. But the story leading up to it, I was pretty much entranced. Eddie Redmayne's even really solid in his supporting role. So anytime you get a musical like this with great musical numbers that are catchy and the story is intriguing as well, I'm pretty much locked in. The next movie I watched is Up in the Air, which is directed by Jason Reitman. It stars George Clooney, Vera Farmiga, and Anna Kendrick. And I thought it was a solid movie. Is it something I loved? No, but I didn't hate it by any means. My favorite part of this movie was George Clooney and Anna Kendrick's relationship when he was kind of mentoring her through the business of firing people, and they were traveling together. That was funny. It lended to some great comedy, but also the heartfelt bits too, especially with Vera Farmiga when she gets brought in. I don't know how I feel about a certain twist that happens in this movie. There's a reveal towards the end that I did not see coming, totally out of left field. And I'm still kind of wrapping my mind around how I feel about that, as well as how the movie wrapped up. But I will say it's very well written. I think it got nominated for a ton of Oscars. I think all 3 actors that I named / actresses were nominated, which is crazy. They're all really good. I think Anna Kendrick's the standout for me. The next movie I watched, I may or may not have bought on Criterion, so you'll have to wait for my Blu-ray haul to see, but that is Akira Kurosawa's The Hidden Fortress, which came out in 1958. And this is essentially one of the biggest inspirations for George Lucas when it comes to Star Wars, the 1977 original film, as there are direct comparisons. There's even a supplement on the Blu-ray that I watched. Spoiler alert, I picked it up. But there's a supplement that is an interview of George Lucas talking about Kurosawa and especially the inspiration that he drew from this movie. And that was extremely interesting to me because I love Star Wars. It's my favorite movie. So, of course, seeing that George Lucas, the creator, talk about direct inspirations kind of softened me up to this movie a little bit. It's really just a classic film, if that makes sense. You're engaged when you watch it. Yes, it does drag on a little in that first hour, which is a common complaint that I have. The pacing was a little off, but the last hour picked up full steam, and I like the way this movie wrapped up. It was fun to point out the comparisons from this to Star Wars throughout, so I enjoyed The Hidden Fortress. I'm happy that I own it in my collection now. I might even do a video comparing The Hidden Fortress to Star Wars, so stay tuned for that possibly. And the last movie that I watched for this 100 Movies I Missed update is Crazy Stupid Love, which stars a lot of people. It stars Ryan Gosling, Steve Carell, Julianne Moore, and Emma Stone. Those are like the main 4. But I really enjoyed this movie. I watched it today, the day I'm filming this, and I was honestly shocked at how much I enjoyed it. It's probably one of my favorite romantic comedies. It's got a really unique take on it, and there's a certain reveal that I didn't see coming at all. Who knew that romantic comedy films had such great twists in them? Like, this and Up in the Air have some really great reveals and such great writing. But this one's funny. I think Ryan Gosling's my favorite Ryan in Hollywood. I know, I still love Deadpool. I still love Ryan Reynolds, but Ryan Gosling, He's just so funny and charming. I don't know, something about him. He's just a very handsome man. But this movie did such a good job of making me laugh, but also hitting me in the feels, and overall it was just such a sweet movie. Really just warmed my heart, and I'm glad that I've finally seen it. So yeah, that's going to do it for this 100 movies I missed update. Hope you guys enjoyed. I'm almost to the end of it. I've got 15 movies left, so you can expect to see 100 movies I missed update sometime in December, and then I plan to rank all of them possibly in a live stream. That's going to be a gauntlet to get through. It's going to be a long live stream or a long video, but I'll keep you guys updated on that. Definitely hit the like button, comment down below your thoughts on some of the movies I watched, as well as certain movies that you watched for the first time recently, because that's always a fun discussion to have. But if you haven't already, please consider subscribing to the channel. It would mean the world. I've got a ton of content planned here for the final stretch of the year, and I'm excited for it all. So stay tuned. Hope you guys are doing well, and until next time, I'll see you guys later.